Good morning, North America. Welcome to Church Talk TV. Lively talk about life, church, and church life. I'm your co-host, Dr. Bill Tenney-Britton, and I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, Dr. Kris Tenney-Britton, and we're broadcasting from our studio in Columbia, Missouri, the heartland of America. Say good morning, Kris.
Well, good morning, and welcome to Church Talk TV.
Kris and Bill Tenney-Britton here today to talk about firing up your fall festival. You know, Halloween is just around the corner, and hey, whether you do a Halloween event, because we know not every church is into Halloween, so what we find is those who don't do Halloweens often do a fall festival, and the time is often similar. They do the two, or the one, or the whatever. They do them around the same period of time because, hey, it is fall. And so we thought we'd talk about how you can get your fall festival all fired up.
Well, there we go. I love that whole idea of firing up, that we're talking about bonfires and the like, or some of us might be doing that. Those are popular at fall and Halloween
right.
specials,
we don't talk about bonfires in this. There's another idea. Bonfires. Hey, have a bonfire.
Hey,
okay,
we
moving
got more
on.
coming for you. Okay, so the first question that you're going to have to think about is, why are you having this festival at all?
But it's fall. We have to have a festival in the fall.
Well, is it for fun? Right, this is why we're thinking about it. So are you doing this for fun, for your church specifically, or are you going to use it as an outreach opportunity? And knowing that, that differentiation will help you so much to decide what you're going to do and what your focus, of course, what you're going to do and what you're going to do about it.
And so we're going to take the rest of this episode and really give you the understanding that you're going to do an outreach event. And if you're not doing an outreach event, the bottom line is you can adapt this pretty easily, but it's harder to adapt. We're doing it for the church to make it for an outreach event. So we're going to talk about an outreach event, and again, you can adapt it if it's just for you and your folks.
Well, and I want to say, if you're not doing it as an outreach event,
why not?
I have to ask you, why are you doing it at all, right? Fun is fun, but if you want to keep having fun into the years to come, you're going to have to invite others to come and be part of your fun. So let's talk about outreach. And you've got to get the contact information. If you've got people coming, you've got to make sure you have information so you can follow up on that. And there are all kinds of ways to do that. You could do registration ahead of time, or a door prize. I love the idea of door prizes.
We love door prizes.
Yes.
You know, one of the great things about door prizes, and one of the recommendations of door prizes, is don't go cheap here. Go ahead and spend $100, because in $100 of contact information, because if you give a good prize away, everybody will register. You give a $5 prize away, you might get a registration here or there. And I heard you talking earlier while we were preparing for this, that if you have a quilters guild or something like that, hey, you know, the door prize can be a quilt or something, you know, really nice. And the key is something that people want, and you get them to give you your contact information. You know, you got to have an email, you got to have a cell phone, or, you know, one or the other. And of course, getting the address is all well and good as well. But you want to get that information so you can follow up. And that's one of the big issues, and we very rarely talk about it. You get all this information, you've got to use it.
Right.
So often churches gather the information, then it goes, you know, they got all these sheets of information of people's names, and it sits on the desk, and they don't do anything with it. You know, get that put into your contact list at the church, you know, your email list, or your mass text emails or text mails, SMSs, whatever, you know, text stuff. It's text stuff beyond me. But, you know, however, you want to make sure you are getting information and getting information into the new people's, you know, these contacts. Invite them to the next thing, and to the next thing, and to the next thing. I mean, that's really what it's about.
Right. And another part to all of this is that you're going to have to think through, how are you going to move people into your event? Where are those places where you're going to have the door prizes? If you're offering multiple door prizes, again, you want to make sure that you have a place to display them where people can see them. But also, you know, they're all different kind of ways. Are you going to fill out those cards outside? Is the event outside? Are you going to have it inside? Do you do that by where refreshments are? make sure you have a table, make sure you have the information. Some people use computers, so you can do that and log it right on there.
You can tell which one of us does the detail stuff.
Yes. Well, not always so good, but I'm just saying, I know when I've pastored churches in the past, right?
Yeah, these are the things you got to think through.
We have to figure that out. Another idea that I saw at a church was that there was a young woman who made and sold these beautiful wreaths, and so she did this with a plan that she would offer a wreath making workshop later on down the line, and so they gave away, actually displayed a couple of those, and then auctioned them off, and I mean each one of them was worth at least $75 in and of itself. So a lot of people signed up. There was a lot of information that was gathered, and then there was a good bit of follow-up. Thank you.
All right. Now, we talked about, we went and talked about the whole registration thing and getting the contact information. But what we should have started with really was, hey, before you do anything, you got to figure out what your target audience is. So we talked about outreach, but are you outreaching to kids? Are you outreaching to families? Are you outreaching to seniors? Because, whichever group you pick, and any of those groups are fine, but whatever group you pick, that will determine what kind of activities you have. What do you want to do? How you're going to do it? And what games, if you're, for instance, going to do seniors, you probably don't want to do a whole lot of the races kind of things, the wheelbarrow full of pumpkins and the obstacle course or whatever. You probably don't want to do that. On the other hand, if it's kids, you're focusing on kids, then you want to make sure the kids have a great time, that they're kids' games, and the families are there to watch and take pictures and whatever. So you may want to have photo booths and so on, or photo backgrounds they can use. So pick out your target audience, and probably do that towards the front. Like I said, we just kind of got that in the wrong order.
Well, yeah, but I'll add to that, though. Make sure that 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 for your prizes, right? I mean, you want to have prizes that match your target audience, right?
Exactly.
So yes, be thinking that through. And if you don't know what that might look like, surely somebody, or if you don't, go stop somebody in a grocery store. Always do this with saying, I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but, and one, that's a great way to kind of advertise what you're going to be doing. But ask, if it's for children, ask somebody that has children for some ideas, and particularly someone who isn't churched. Would be that. Okay, so we talked about our target audience.
The other thing you're about to talk about, that we should have done this one before too. We're really hyper about getting the content information, and so we threw that up front, but there's some things you do before you worry about that, and that is also
your date.
When are you going to do it?
When are you going to do this? Yeah, remember that there's a lot of competition on Halloween.
If you're doing Halloween night.
If you're doing Halloween night, right?
Or Fall Festival on Halloween night as an alternative, but...
So you want to do, what night or what day, time of day. I know that we've been part of churches in the past that I know that go to events as a group. I mean, that was popular in Atlanta, that they would do all church and then go as a group. This was family focused. And so you had to make reservations with that group, where you were going. It was in a park. And so, it was really cool. They were bonfiring there and whatnot. Did the same thing around Christmas time for Christmas events, lights and whatnot. So if you're going to do something that's not on your property, and you could do outreach that's not on your property,
absolutely.
Just make sure that you've got your reservations in order and approximately how many people are going to be there, et cetera, et cetera.
Another reason the date's important is if you do decide to schedule on Halloween night, you need to remember that there will be kids that are trick-or-treating. And so you don't want an extended event on Halloween night unless you're trying to get kids to not participate in Halloween night, and that's great with that. And I guess I would say good luck with that. But because there's a real ethos in our country about getting out there and getting all the treats. But in any event, that just know that if you do something on Halloween night, that you may not have the attention span or the presence span of kids that come or families that come, because they may be hearing. Now, if you're doing Halloween stuff, like if you're a trunk or treat place, then that they're going to go to your place, and then they're going off to the next church or the next neighborhood, and away they go. But the other thing you need to remember is if you do it on a day besides Halloween, and that may be an option for you. But remember that it's going to be less likely the kids show up in costume if you're planning on having costumes. So if you're doing a costume contest, then what else were you going to say about that?
Well, no, I wanted to add to that there are adults that don't want to be part of it. I mean,
absolutely.
I pastored a church and we did a trunk or treat there, and that was fun. But I love being home. That's one of the ways I do evangelism, is to meet our neighbor and our neighbor's children and whatnot. So I love being home and decorating, and I hate leaving. I hate leaving the light off on Halloween night. Particularly we decorate, and so it's like, okay, nobody's home. Why did we do that? So just to keep in mind, it's not just if you're having children, it's also going to be about adults, and be aware of what's going on in the community, that there may be some kind of big festival that's happening that weekend before, whatever. So just be looking and thinking about all these different elements.
All right. So the next piece in this, once you got all that, once you get your target, your date, and you have your who you're doing it for, outreach or in reach. The next piece is about marketing. How are you going to get the word out about the event that you're going to have? And again, if it's an outreach event, you want as many people to know about it. I know that a lot of schools allow you to put flyers or whatnot in the kids' go-home bag on Fridays. The school district of the church that we're members of, they don't allow that. It's all electronic now. And you have to be very careful with what goes in it and all that. You really can't say that it's a church or a church event and whatnot. So you have to be very careful to stay within the guidelines. But you can get that word out. And that's a great way to get started, especially if you're looking for kids and families.
Well, it lets you be creative. We've talked about this in so many different episodes, that a lot of people won't come to a church regardless. They think they're going to come and you're going to hand them tracts and try to get them saved and all of that. I mean, we've seen that. We know of that in every community in which we've lived. So, there's something to be said about it's being located in the parking lot of the church. And then you make sure that you're doing your marketing, your follow-ups there. I also want to toss out something we've seen a lot of, not a lot of yet. I hope that you all will do it. And if we were near you in your congregation, we would see it. People actually donate to get yard signs. And so the church may be a bit of a distance away, but people will have a yard sign and say, Fall Fest. Text or text to here
or URL or whatever.
URL, right.
So you get the information. So another way of doing it is of course you have your church sign, and if you have a opportunity to change the message, if you happen to be one of the churches that has invested in an LED sign, of course make sure you use that. But that's one of the best ways of getting the word out. In fact, last time I did a study, the number 2 way that people end up walking in the doors of a church, random. They weren't invited by someone personally. The second top reason was because they saw the church sign and there was an advertisement for whatever it was that was coming up. So your church sign is very important.
Well, and if you don't have a church sign, then you can get one of those banners.
The vinyl banners.
Vinyl banners. Yeah. They don't cost that much. You can. I've watched churches struggle with how do you get them up there, but you can do it. We've watched too many churches figure out how to do it.
Bungee cords on the corners. Put your poles a little farther out. Bungee cord in each corner. That'll keep it tight. It allows it to move with the wind, but it doesn't make that allow it to get all crinkly and wrinkly and look like ew. So you want to always have quality. So use the bungee cords.
Yes, and make sure you take the signs down. Oh yes, my goodness, there is nothing worse than going down and looking at signs that are several weeks old or they've passed. That speaks volumes. So make sure however your sign is, take it down or change it out. Put it on the calendar. No fail.
All right. Now, the number 1 way today of getting the word out to your community, of course, is using social media. In a very small community that still has a newspaper, that still might be the way to go. But for most communities today, the best way to get out to the people in your community is to use social media, whether it's Facebook, definitely Facebook. It's the biggest social media out there. Instagram, owned by Facebook, and whatever others. There's all sorts of different ones out there. Snapchat and all the rest.
That's a great one.
Pick your 1 or 2 that you're going to use, but limit your space, your where you're your audience, where you're advertising to. Keep it local. You don't need to pay for a post that's going to blast over into Baltimore when you live in Sacramento. So, pay for the ones. And we do recommend boosting. You want to get out to as many people as possible. So you boost the post or you pay for Facebook advertising to get to the audience you're trying to get.
Well, and we've talked about that in other episodes,
absolutely,
right?
yeah,
So you can look at that. Well, you have another idea that you're familiar with. I'm not as familiar, and that's those Postit flyers.
Okay, you can buy the Post-its that are like this big. They're like 6 by 4.5 or some of that. You can actually get them from Paper Direct, and they'll print on them. And these are like Post-its, so you can peel them off and slap them on. Once upon a time, churches did door hangers where they went from door to door. But door hangers are such a pain to try and thread through when you get to a door that doesn't have the right kind of door handle. What do? It won't stay on. But the Post-it notes are wonderful because they don't leave any sticky residue. You can walk up to the screen door or to a wooden door, a metal door. You pop it on there, and it lets people know what's going on in your church. And if you live in a neighborhood where you have lots, if your church, is in a neighborhood that has, like in a residential area, it's really easy and inexpensive to get out there and let people know. Without being too offensive, but also really targeting your people in the area.
Okay, and wear a costume when you do that, and not some churchy costume, but you want to catch people's attention. I'm serious. If you're inviting them to a Halloween
costume either.
What? Don't do a clown. Don't do a preacher or a choir or anything like that. But have fun with it. Exactly. You're trying to communicate that you're going to have fun.
Right, exactly.
All right. So how do you have fun? Well, popular activities. There's, the Halloween party. There's trunk or treat.
Those are doing if you're doing Halloween.
Right.
And all those. You've been doing them forever. So, nothing new there. But if you really want to get, if you really, because I'm a Pinterest person, you're not so much. I'm going to advertise this here.
Listen, get stuck in Pinterest.
If you want to know and get ideas for how to have a really creative, incredible fall festival, just go to Pinterest and type in fall festival or Halloween festival if you're into Halloween. There are thousands, and I don't mean that's not an exaggeration. There's probably tens of thousands of opportunities out there that are just fabulous. One of the ones that I saw, one of my favorite ones, was the Pop a Pumpkin. Someone had painted a pumpkin vine on a big 4x8 piece of plywood, and they put orange balloons and thumbtacked them on all over there. And then, if you really want to be creative, I guess you could take a Sharpie and put the little lines like you do on a pumpkin. And then they use darts. And if you popped one, you got a prize. Now, I've seen them where they actually take a little piece of paper and you roll up what the prize is and you stuff that into the balloon before you blow it up. But I found that to be a lot of work. Just, if you want to do a random prize for, or your choice or whatever. But anyway, I loved that one.
Well, and like he says, for me, Pinterest is a black hole that I get sucked into and can't get out. I could be there for hours and hours. But Google's my friend, and doing that or looking, Women's Day magazine, Family Circle. Those are other good ideas. What else? I wanted to say another. Oh, prizes. Make sure the prizes are something kids would want, or people would say, "Oh, wow, how cool!" Oriental trading. Many of us, especially if we've been in church work for any amount of time, are very familiar with Oriental trading. That's got a lot of cool prizes in there. You can change up themes. Other ideas that you had found are mazes, where people can walk through mazes.
Corn maze. That's a maze.
Corn maze. M-A-I-Z-E.
Right.
Maze.
And then of course there's hay mazes for those who want to go get bales of hay. But one of the things I found that was really cool was someone had got the caution tape. They didn't have the money for a hay maze. They didn't have a cornfield handy to do a maze. And so they got caution tape and they got posts and sticks and they put them in the ground and they created their own maze with the caution tape. Yes, of course you can step over it and all the rest, but it's still a maze and it can be a lot of fun for the folks. So there's lots and lots and lots of ideas that you can just get the attention of kids and families and have a really, really great time. Remember that we're still in in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah.
And so, outside is probably preferable. And, the whole social distancing, you probably don't want to do bobbing for apples. Or
No.
I saw one that was bobbing for donuts. You had donuts on a string. You're just like, that doesn't seem like a good idea in this particular time. So, and maybe never again. Who knows? I don't know.
I thought that could be okay.
Maybe.
If they were far enough apart, 6 feet apart,
but
or
normally
make
it's a
sure your
two-person
string
thing.
is, oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
So, okay. All right. So the last thing I want to talk about is Sizzle, or we want to talk about is Sizzle. So really, I just want to hand this off to you because you're hot on this. Sizzle. How do you make your event sizzle?
Yes, you've got to sizzle. Your hospitality has to be top notch and over the top.
And that's what makes Sizzle.
Right.
That's what makes your event high and mighty, if you will. It's what you want.
Well, and okay, so we, one of the hospitality traits or tricks maybe that we advocate is always having somebody in the parking lot to help get people in. So,
of course, if your event's in the parking lot, everyone's going to be out in the parking lot.
But you know what? Where are you going to park? You've got to have, people who are going to help with parking.
Right.
You've got to have people who will help you move through. You have to have people that are looking to see who's lost, who needs that. You make sure that you've got people that are talking to people, not especially about your church, but getting them to where you need them to be. Hospitality. There was something I wanted to add to
remember,
that.
While you think about that,
ahead.
remember that your members, this event isn't for them if you're doing outreach.
That was it. Thank you.
If this event is for outreach, your members are the hosts. And we've somehow got to be able to communicate that they're not there to go and enjoy all the stuff, and they can individually now and again, but the bottom line is they're there to make sure everybody else has a wonderful time, and they are interacting and introducing themselves and saying, well, I'm a member here. You can do T-shirts or hats or badges or whatever, but your members are the sizzle, because they're the ones building relationships with the people in your community.
Okay, so I'm going to slightly differ. I don't think you're going to disagree with me on this one. And that is, you want members, too, to bring neighbors. You want them to bring their children. They're not working. Okay, they are there kind of as guests. They're going to be helping people to move around and whatnot. The way to get around that is going to be, have signups, or it's better not to have just random signups, but have people ask them, will you do this between 1 and 3? Will you be doing this between 2 and 4?
Coordinate your volunteers.
Coordinate your volunteers, and be very, very intentional about that, because that then allows people to say, I can't be here. I'm thinking about the last trunk or treat that I was participating in as pastor, and as I've just said, I want to leave. I want to go home, and so when you're pastor, you're not supposed to. But I was able to say, I'm going to be here until about 5:30, but then I'm going to go home because I need to be there for my neighbors and for my children. So I was able to call my limit, my boundary. I was able to do what is important to me about that, but I was able to be there fully focused, fully available during the times that I was able to be there. And then there were people who said, I can be here at 6. Let me be here at 6. And it was like, thank you. There it is.
All right. And we are out of time. We are so way out of time. And so real quick, want to talk to you that you can find more tips on hospitality at churchhospitality.us, and you can pick up the hospitality video training. There's a training course at churchhospitality.us that'll walk you through it, or you can go to effectivechurch.net. The URL is on the screen, and click on the hospitality link, and there is a video training set, 22 videos, 10 minutes or less by and large, walking your people through every aspect of hospitality, from your nursery to your greeters to your ushers to hosts and all the rest. So hospitality, churchhospitality.us or effectivechurch.net. We're out of time. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.